Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today is a beautiful day. It's like 80 degrees out here. It's, what is it, February 23rd? It's crazy, 80 degrees. I know that the fish are spawning out there somewhere, but today, the reason why I'm really excited is because I'm getting the brand new 2023 Phoenix 921 Elite ready for the season. I'm also getting the truck ready as well, and the truck camper, of course. But the boat, I'm very, very meticulous about my boat and what I put in it because, you know, throughout a season, I need a lot of different spare parts. I need a lot of tools. I need a lot of things that will keep me safe, and as well as, you know, whoever I have in my boat safe. And so, you know, I tend to carry a lot more stuff, I think, than other people. But I've seen a lot of things happen. You know, anything can happen out there on the water, and I want to make sure that I'm pretty much prepared for any situation that I'm presented with. And this kind of comes from my experience in Alaska. You know, I've been guiding in Alaska for 19 years now at a lodge called the Burghoff Wilderness Lodge in Southeast Alaska. And we're out in the wilderness. You know, if something breaks or something happens, we are the first responders. We are the mechanics. We do everything ourselves because we don't have any stores or any shops that we can go to fix something or to get something. So that's kind of where my Boy Scoutish tendencies come from. And so anyways, I wanted to share with you some of the things that I carry with me that I think most anglers don't carry with them, that may be something you want to think about carrying in your boat. Now, as a tournament angler that travels all around the country, and this is my job, obviously I'm going to have some things in here that are a little bit overkill for the traditional angler or the weekend angler. But there's also a lot of things that I think that even weekend anglers can really benefit from too. So I'm just going to kind of walk you through the crazy amount of stuff that I bring with me on the water. So let's start back here. So we've got the, the bilge area back here. This is where I keep a lot of different tools. Okay, so there's a few things that are really, really important. Number one, you know, if you need to be towed on the water, I carry a tow strap. So this tow strap is really good because I can also use it, you know, like if you're up in the Mississippi River where you've got all kinds of sandbars and stuff and you need to get towed off, this will help you do that without having to call an airboat and pay, you know, $750,000 or something like that. I also keep another rope with me. That one's a little bit easier to deal with if I have to have somebody tow me or I have to tow them. I keep some cam straps. Cam straps are killer. Okay, these are really super useful. You can use them for anything. Say your power pole hydraulic fluid drains out and your power poles get loose and they want to, like, you know, deploy when they're not supposed to. Okay, that's just an example. A cam strap is a great way to be able to strap that power pole and make sure that it doesn't, continue to go down. I carry a second one with me that's a little bit shorter, and I'll show you where this primarily lives. And I'm going to be doing a video on, you know, the customizations that I do on the Phoenix, but I'll show you a couple of them. So I put this cleat here, and what I do is I put this strap underneath, and I can strap it around my Motor Guide Tour Pro. So that, you know, in real rough water, if I'm making a long run in 3, 4, 5, 6 footers, who knows what I'm going to experience, I can make this rock solid with that. And I can also, you know, tie something to the bow too, if I need to. So that's super useful. But having a couple cam straps and one that's cut down for the trolling motor has been pretty useful over the years. All right, another thing that we've got in here, we've got a spare, this is like a little composite prop keeper, you know, rig. It's like a deal. I keep a spare with me because we've got the spare prop in here, which is another thing that you need to carry. I cannot believe how many anglers that fish tournaments and that consider themselves serious tournament anglers don't have a spare prop in their boat. I know not only have a spare prop in my boat, but I have a spare prop in my truck as well. So I carried three props with me, including the one that's on the engine, at any time. But I carry this with me just in case this ends up breaking and I need to put that in there, because the last thing you want is, if you're running some really rough water, to have your prop rattling around back there. So that's another thing that I carry with me. Make sure that not only you're carrying a spare prop, but you've got all the tools to change it, and also the hub kit and all that, which we're going to show you in a second. But yeah, so this tray got a lot of different toe straps, ropes, and then I also did a little customization this year. I always struggle with a place to put my fire extinguisher, but I figured it out. I ended up bolting it to the bottom there, okay? And that lives right there, and it doesn't rattle around. It just stays pretty stationary. So that's a pretty good place for the fire extinguisher to live. So that was kind of a new customization that I did this year that I'm pretty happy with. Proud of that thinking. I'm a smart fella, or a fart smeller. And here's a solid hub kit for the prop, so I can change that out. You know, it's not good enough to have just one of the regular flow torque ones that have the rubber, you know, gasket or rubber hub, because putting one of those rubber ones into a prop without a press is really, really hard. So either you put the hub, you know, if it's one of those rubber ones that you have to press in, either you put it in your spare prop and have it, you know, in there ready to go, or you're going to have some issues with putting that hub kit in, you know, after the fact. But of course I carry some extra washers for that hub kit, and the nut. I carry some extra bolts that I can use for, you know, the transom area here if I absolutely have to. Phoenix does a really good job. They put they do 2 bolts on the top of where the jack plate meets the transom, and where the jack plate meets the engine. So they actually double up on all of the bolts. So, you know, I don't expect having any issues, but having some extra big bolts that you can possibly put on, you know, if you're going to the Great Lakes or something, could be a big deal. But some other tools I've got in here, and also, you know, those are bolts that also work with the power poles too. So I keep a 3/4 inch just regular wrench, and then I've got a socket that I keep with me. This one is, I forget the size, it is a 7 7/16, and that is for the prop. And then I've got the other socket that is a 3/4 for all my bolts and everything back here. I also carry a big screwdriver, flathead screwdriver back here, as well as a board here, which I can use for, you know, taking the prop off as a wedge. And then I've got some 2,4-C grease for Mercury. This is good for just about anything. You know, if I'm changing the prop out, might as well put those on the splines on the spindle and, you know, be good to go, so you're not having any seizure issues. But anyways, guys, that is what I have in the bilge area. Super important. Let's look over here. So, now let's check out the tools, because we're kind of on that tool bandwagon right now. So Phoenix has this co-angler rod locker. I use it as my toolbox. So all my tools are accessible from the outside of the boat. One thing I also keep in here is I keep a extra weigh bag. This is a Fitzgerald fishing weigh bag. So if I had to transfer fish from my boat to another competitor's boat, you know, if I have a breakdown or something like that, I have a bag ready to go. All right, and we also have in this box right here, we've got a mix of things. This is probably the most used tool on the boat. You know, I just keep this ratcheting screwdriver to kind of keep everything tightened up. I keep extra fuses. That's really important. A little, you know, assortment of screws. Never know when you need that. Duct tape. If you don't have duct tape in your boat, you're just not redneck enough. Keep an extra handle as well as an extra cable for the motor guide. Keep a voltmeter in here to be able to test everything. You know, got a Allen wrench, so all kinds of electrical tape, bigger fuses for the engine, or for the power pole charge. This right here is something that I haven't seen anybody else keep in their boat. You may not know what this is. This is the spring on the hot foot down there. Okay, that right there, that spring, if it breaks, you're in trouble if you don't have a spare in rough water, because it's really hard to control that pedal without that spring putting pressure, you know, back pressure on it or pulling it back. So we've got that. We've got another pigtail for the Lowrance and motor guide. There's a lot of stuff in there, but you get the point. Lots of spare stuff and tools. Okay, put all that back. All right, so that box is really important, but really all this stuff is really important. Again, I want to be able to work on this stuff on the water, and so many anglers just rely on the service guys. But, you know, if you're making a long run, you need all this stuff. All right, we have a spare katana prop from Motor Guide. You always carry a spare prop for your trolling motor as well. I've had those fall off in the past. This box, waterproof box, has a lot of my manuals. So if I need to, diagnose anything like that, or, you know, do some codes for the trolling motor, that's there. I also have a spare kit for mounting the transducer, the LVS 34 transducer. You know, I've never had one break off in that position, but it is a concern, so we carry a spare of that. Keep spare batteries for all the power pole switches. Keep a spare kill switch. This is something that I've never seen anybody keep, but I think is super important. This is a little epoxy stick. So I can actually, you know, if I get like a piece of, a rebar actually pokes a hole in the boat or something, or goes through into the fiberglass, I can actually patch that up if I'm going to be experiencing some rough water to make sure that I'm not going to have any delamination issues, you know, in an emergency. Got another cam strap in there, more batteries, even got a little rubber bungee cord, all kinds of stuff in there. So again, overkill, but I like being overkill, man. I don't like being out in the middle of Lake Erie, something go wrong. We've got, this is something that everybody should carry with them. Everybody. Okay. This right here is a jumper box from Scoche. Works very, very well. You can use it as a, power station for, all kinds of tackle. But I've used this numerous times. Always make sure that it's charged, and it works very, very well at jumping the boat. This right here is a full toolbox. So this has, every, tool that I could possibly need to work on the engine or anything else. This one right here is a little overkill. Okay. This is kind of an accumulation of all, stuff from over the years. Like I've got stuff from that I don't even really need anymore. I've got a bunch of power or foot pedal switches for motor guide. I've got bolts for the motor guide. I've got, the vent plugs for the Fury props, more fuses. I got a lot of stuff I don't need in here. These, the knobs on your electronics. Having spares of those is pretty important. As over the top as this box is, I've also got of course, the nuts for all the motor guide stuff. So I've got pins and nuts if I have to replace the motor guide. Here's another spare spring and even another spare spring. This one's broken, but for some reason I still have it. But yeah, I mean, at Erie or at Champlain this last year, this box, pretty much saved me because I had a Humminbird unit that was just hanging on by a thread, and I found the exact thread a bolt that I needed to be able to limp on back to the ramp in some pretty rough water. All right, so that's that box. Lots and lots of tools. I'm telling you, man, a lot of that stuff, you know, are things that you should probably carry with you too. All right, so back here behind my seat, this is where I keep my fish care stuff, some spare line, and also some materials that I can make custom jigs and spinner baits on the fly. So I got a bunch of skirts, a bunch of blades and things like that in there. It's all rusty on the zippers there. That's why I'm not opening it, because I can't do it with one hand. This is my fish care box. Okay, so this is something that I've had to use more than once and have had to loan out. This is a battery powered bilge pump. Okay, so it's not very good as just a traditional bilge pump, but for circulating water in a live well, this can be a lifesaver for the fish. And so, you know, I keep this with me. If something goes out, a fuse goes out, and I don't have the right equipment to fix it, I at least have this to be able to circulate water into the live wells. And I think that's pretty important. Got a pair of gloves that can handle, like, you know, big gar or whatever I catch, alligators. Got a cull beam. Got a catch commander. I've actually got a spare catch commander as well. Got another pair of Bubba gloves. I really don't need both of these. Let's throw these away. All right, so now we're simplifying things. Oh, here's another battery-powered live well, clutch piece of equipment and just kind of insurance. This is a floating Rapala aerator that's battery powered, and I think all it does is when it touches the water, it turns on. It has that little, when it touches the water, it turns on automatically. I'm going to make sure that I have the up-to-date batteries in there, fresh batteries. Also got another bilge pump right here. Okay, this clips onto one of my cranking batteries or any of my batteries, and or I can plug it in, to the plug by the helm. So that is pretty clutch. Oh, actually, no, I've made it so I clip it to the battery, and then I plug it into there. Okay, or you can plug it into any plug like that, 12-volt plug. We got some extra batteries that probably need to be thrown out or just replaced. We've got some please release me. We got some G-juice. We got some things that maybe I can whittle down a little bit. We got some bad batteries, so let's get those out of there. Man, thank you guys for watching this video. I'm finding all kinds of stuff that I need to throw out. A little bit rusty down there. I got this little gripper for big catfish or something. I've got these fish fizzer needles. I'm probably going to go ahead and throw these out. I don't want my fish to get tetanus, if that's even a thing. But yeah, so we've got all kinds of spare stuff in there. I'm going to go through that afterwards. This right here is my spare fishing line. So if I have to respool a full reel, I've got some extra line in there. I keep it in a waterproof box because that's going to help maintain kind of the freshest line possible. All right, so the next box that we've got that I think is ultra important, and definitely something that Alaska has really instilled in me. This is my emergency bag, also known as the bag. So you open this, obviously right there, you've got a whistle, really important for emergency situations. This is a waterproof bag. I can sit on this Yeti bag and no air will escape. So that's really important. It actually will float if I had to throw it into the water. So I tell my co-anglers about this bag, and especially on big water, rough days, I let them know this is the bag that they want to grab if we're in a situation that gets hairy. This is a very important bag. So let me open this if I can. All right, I just packed this, but I'm going to unpack it for you. Got a spare, you know, packable down jacket. Got some commercial fishing pants. So these are like fleece pants that I got in Alaska. These are Grundens. I sometimes fish with those pretty often. So I've got that, and it's not cotton. You know, it's a material that will dry really fast. It keeps you really warm. Also got a pair of cold weather socks. So you want some spare stuff just in case you you know, are out in the cold or fall in the water. You know, at the Grand Lake event, my rookie season on the Pro Circuit, I fell in the water on a day that it was in the low 20s that day. Like, it was super, super cold in the morning, the air temperature, and the water temperature was really cold too. But I was freezing that day, and it really affected. I ended up losing by 1.5 pounds, finished third. And I feel like if I had dry clothing that could, you know, help warm me up and keep me energized, I probably would have done better. But we also have flares. So handheld flares. This box right here, I'm telling you guys, I'm pretty crazy with my safety gear. We've got a PLB. Okay, so this is a personal locating beacon. So it will, if I activate it, it will notify, you know, any of the, you know, authorities in the area of my location. I've got a VHF radio that floats and is waterproof. And so I can, you know, talk to lock masters. I can try to communicate with anybody, you know, on the Great Lakes. There's a lot of Coast Guard vessels out there, a lot of vessels that are using VHF radio. Obviously, a lot of you know, towboats use VHF. There's a lot of different vessels out there on a lot of these lakes that do use VHF radios. So I carry one of those with me, and this is the same stuff that I carry with me in Alaska. So I just don't see a reason why I shouldn't. Here's a emergency power little power box. I actually got two. I don't need two. This is a light that you can actually crank to get light, or you can get solar. I've also got a couple other lights in here. Emergency tent. Okay. I know you guys are laughing at me at home, but I'm serious, man. If you got stuck out in the wilderness somewhere, you know, and you didn't have cell coverage, or your phone got wet, there's anything that can happen out on the water. I think that we neglect to realize how vulnerable we are to exposure out there on the water. You know, even on these lakes that are surrounded by people, man. I've heard a lot of horror stories, and you know, in Alaska, we've even pulled out a couple people out of the water. Thankfully, that we're still alive, but didn't have much longer to live. That's a whole other story. But anyways, we got an emergency bivvy. It's kind of like a sleeping bag. Got a beanie, more clothes, first aid kit. Obvious thing that you need to carry with you. I've had to dig into that first aid kit a lot. Toilet paper, come on, man. You know you got to carry that. Another light. Oh, here's another bivvy. So we're doubled up. A lot of this stuff I took out of my hunting bag and threw it in here just now. So obviously I don't need all this stuff, but another thing that I carry with me is I've got some fire starter, and I just throw a few like you know, power bars in here just in case. That one actually is open, so I'm going to throw that out. Just all kinds of emergency equipment, like these fire starters. But that's pretty much it in there. And overall, I'm pretty sure that's it. No, we've got some more stuff in the center box that I want to show you. Oh, and there's another thing in the side box here that we're just in. All right, you guys are gonna, if you guys aren't already laughing at me about my preparedness complex, you guys are really gonna like this. All right, so how many of you guys have lost something by dropping it in the water? It was only like 10 or 12 feet, but it's not like you can see down there to go find it. And you're just like, gosh, it's clear water, but I'm just not going to go look for it because I'm probably not going to be able to find it. Well, I carry goggles with me. So I carry some like a snorkel type thing. I don't have the snorkel, but just the goggles. I carry that with me, and I've actually had to use this to retrieve something important. I've had keys go in the water, and without the goggles, I mean, the likelihood that you can find it is so extremely low. So I carry a pair of those. And, you know, I haven't had to use it in a very, very long time, but I'm going to be thankful that I carry it with me when I do lose something. And another thing that I carry in the camper is a burner cell phone. So I get one of those like cell phones you can get at like Dollar General or something like that and activate. And I carry that with me for two reasons. Number one, if I go to a place that doesn't have AT&T coverage, which I have on my cell phone, I have another service that I can pull from that hopefully has reception. Or if my phone, you know, gets dropped in the water, I have a spare phone at the at the camper. I don't keep that in the boat because I've got the VHF radio and things like that. But I do have a separate phone if I need it in an emergency. And I've had to use it before. You know, I kept it in my my hunting bag. All right. So now we get to a couple tools that you're going to need. So this right here, probably a lot of people have these, but these are, you know, wire clippers in case you get hooked and you need to you know, clip the hooks a little bit. Always keep those. Those are really important. This tool right here, I can almost guarantee you don't have in your boat. Most people don't even know what this is. This is a vestige of my skateboarding days back in high school. This is a skateboard tool where you can work on your trucks, and you know, I ended up losing the original one that I had for years since my senior year in high school, but I bought this one on Amazon, and there's a few things that this thing has that's really cool. First off, you've got the you know, the socket that you need to take off the trolling motor nut very, very quickly, so I don't have to like dig through and get into that tackle box. It also has a you know, Phillips head screwdriver on it, you know, for tight spots. And, you know, it's got some other sockets on there. So you get different options, but for changing out a trolling motor prop on the fly, this thing is pretty killer. I can't do that with one hand. All right, so that is it. Do you guys think I'm crazy? Am I crazy for carrying all this stuff? I don't think so, because honestly, the majority of it, other than some of the safety gear, like I've ever had to camp out on an island somewhere, or, you know, have to stay out in the wilderness, you know, against my will. But I definitely don't want to be without all these things if, you know, if I do get stuck out there. And now that I'm sitting here about to close this out, I've got more stuff that I want to show you guys. So last year at the Bassmat, or the MLF Pro Circuit event at the Harris chain, I was already having a tough event, but I ended up having some type of allergic reaction, and ended up like, my eyes ended up swelling shut and ended up losing a contact. I had to, like, when I was locking back from Lake Apopka, I had to like stick my head in the water for some relief. Like, I was just, that was the only way that I could get any relief. And I could barely, you know, see to be able to drive down that narrow canal. So really dangerous situation. And that's not the first time I've ever had that happen. So what I did this year is I created a little medicine box for whatever situation I could be presented with. I've got, you know, contact drops. So if I have that happen again, or my contacts are drying out and getting a little bit, you know, uncomfortable, I've got that. Got some more of that. Claritin. You don't want to get Benadryl. I took Benadryl yesterday because I started getting some allergies, and it knocked me out. And you don't want that to happen on the water. So make sure that you get like Claritin non-drowsy. But that is for those you know, those crazy weird allergy attacks. Got some cortisone. Of course, you got to have some ibuprofen with you. Stomach reliever. pretty important. I keep this mirror. I don't know, you know, those people out there that can actually like change out their contacts without looking in a mirror. You're freaks of nature. I'm a little bit suspicious of you, but I need this thing, so I carry that little mirror with me. Sinus congestion medicine, and then we've got some cold and flu stuff. But anyways, guys, that I think is super important too. How many times have you been out in the water and something like that happens, you know, and it ended up ruining a full day of tournament fishing. By the time I got off the water, my eyes were just swollen shut. I was already, you know, and that happened at noon. So I had plenty of time to be able to recover from a bad fishing day, you know, some bad momentum. But after you lose your eyesight, that's really hard to recover from. So, you know, that's why I want to make sure that I have like an emergency medication kit with me. And there's been plenty of times where I've had, you know, upset stomach or something like that. That's where the toilet paper works in too. But, yeah. Anyways, guys, this is what I do for a living. You know, I'm out there on the water, and I don't want to have to rely on somebody else or have to go back to the ramp to fix something. So that is the reason why I've got all the safety gear, the tools, and the spare parts that I need in this boat. So anyways, guys, let me know what you think about my crazy set of stuff that I keep with me on the water that's non-fishing related. And let me know if you think I'm going overboard or if I'm just right, or if there's anything else that you think I should add to this list. Anyways, guys, thanks for watching. Make sure you like, share, subscribe. I hope somebody gets a little gem out of this that helps them out of a jam out on the water. Take care.